What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Therapy on Two Wheels. Today we're going to be talking about, as a newer motorcycle rider, how do you get over that fear that you initially have when you start riding on road. Let's jump into it. So as a new motorcycle rider, you probably noticed that after you go through your MSF course, if that's what you took, and you get out onto the road, there might be a little bit of fear there, at least for the first few months as you start riding and you're getting more comfortable. And I want to talk a little bit about, why that is and how you're going to overcome that, kind of what that timeline typically looks like and what it looked like for me personally. Starting with, as a new rider on the street, you're going to have a little bit more fear probably compared to riding off-road. A lot of it is going to be the other cars that you're driving around that are going to pose the fear that you're going to experience. So when you're riding off-road, maybe it's more about the bike itself and the terrain, but at least for me, riding off-road or riding on road, the cars were the biggest thing that gave me fear. I didn't want to mess up with whatever I was doing with my shifting, possibly cause me to lock up a back tire, or if I wasn't paying attention and have to slam on my brakes going to the back of somebody. Those were all very real fears that I had when I first started riding on road. And I'll let you know, as a newer rider, that fear will decrease as your confidence level increases as you're riding, and it typically just takes time and practice. If you're only riding your bike maybe once per week or once every couple of weeks, it's going to take you a lot longer to get over that fear and become more comfortable riding on the road around all of these potential safety hazards. Now, for me, it took, I'd say, probably about a month to get to that point where the fear level started to decrease significantly. And it probably wasn't until about maybe 6 months to 9 months, somewhere in between there, where the fear kind of just completely dissipated. So before, when I go out on a ride, there's always that little bit of nervousness, a little bit of anxiety that you're going to get, just because things are still new for you. You're still trying to learn the controls of the motorcycle, still trying to learn how to quickly maneuver the motorcycle, emergency brake. Until you've done those things a lot, you will not typically have the confidence to be able to handle a lot of those emergency situations as they come up in a very quick manner. But as you continue riding, the more often that you do it, for me, I think the first probably 3 months I was riding almost daily. Then about at 6 months it was a few times a week, and then at about a year went down to about once, maybe twice per week at most. But as I became more confident, the more that I got out and rode, the less and less I noticed that the fear was there. And you're always going to have potential issues that are out on the road, and it just takes time to get over those. So don't push yourself too fast and thinking, why am I still a little bit afraid every time I hop on the motorcycle before I go out riding? It's natural for most people. Maybe some people within a week they get over that fear, but I'd say for most people it's probably somewhere between that three month to a year time frame, just depending on how often you are going to be riding and whether you've ridden dirt bikes off-road previously or something like that. Along with these fears, I would highly suggest riding within your abilities, especially if you're going to be going on group rides or going out on rides with friends. If they are much more experienced motorcyclists, don't try to keep up with them. Your abilities and your level of experience on a motorcycle is probably much lower, and you're much more likely to get yourself into a bad situation, get yourself into an accident that could potentially seriously injure you. So you do want to ride within your own abilities. If your group rides or your friend rides, they're just going too fast, be like, hey, I'm going to sit back, I'll catch up with you guys a little bit later, or just start going out on some solo rides to build up that confidence over time. Do not push yourself, especially going fast. I love these types of roads, especially on this type of naked bike with my BMW. But if I was a beginner rider and this was my first week riding, I would never come out here. I would never be on these types of roads on this type of bike. It would scare the hell out of me. So for you, ride within your own abilities, ride within your own speed limits that you have internally until you build up that confidence, and that will just happen with time and more experience and more time on the bike. The other thing that I would suggest as a newer rider is not riding at night, unless you have to. I know there's some ways that you can't get around that, especially if you commute for work. Now the sun is going down. This is middle of end of November, and the sun's going down at a little after 4 o'clock. it's hard to get away from not riding at night. But if you can, maybe you're just doing this on the weekends, it's more for fun, it's not necessarily for commuting, or maybe you get off work early, whatever it is, try to avoid riding at night. And riding at night is so much more dangerous because it's very hard to see any potential hazards. I mean, I could see way down there, probably about 10-15 miles. If this was night, it'd be hard to see 10 to 15 feet in front of me, especially without a decent quality light on my bike. So if you are going to be riding just for fun, or even if you're going to be commuting, maybe try to avoid riding at night, at least for the first few months, until you get comfortable with the ergonomics of the bike, you get comfortable with emergency braking, swerving, because those things that are in the road, it's going to be much harder for you to see farther out. You're only going to see them when there may be a second or two, and you have to quickly maneuver your bike or quickly progressively brake because you don't have much reaction time because you can't see that far in front of you. Same thing, you're much harder to see at night for car drivers, so you're more likely to be hit at night because of visibility issues from the car drivers compared to in the middle of the day when the sun is shining and you got plenty of visibility and you stand out a little bit more. At night, a lot of times with your single headlight, you look like a car that is much farther away, especially for oncoming traffic. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but you see a motorcycle and they have, or a car that has a headlight out, it kind of looks like a motorcycle because it's just one single light. And that's what people are used to because they're looking for cars. They're not looking for motorcyclists. So you're going to be much closer to them than they're anticipating, and that's where they might do like a left-hand or right-hand turn in front of you when you're only, say, 20 yards out instead of 200 yards out when they're looking for a car. So try to avoid riding at night. Try to just do some riding during the day until you become comfortable on your bike and your riding mechanics in your particular area, and then maybe try a few nighttime rides. Additionally, one of the other hard things is trying to avoid bad weather. You know, some of that is just unavoidable, especially if you are commuting and your bike is your only mode of transportation and you don't own a car. Then you're going to have to go through some of that weather. You're going to go through rain. You're going to go through potentially snow. Hopefully you're not riding too much through snow. You're going to have to go through dust storms. You know, I've been through pretty much all that stuff except for deep snow. I haven't ridden through that, luckily, because I haven't needed to. But I've been through heavy rain and thunderstorms. I've been through heavy dust storms as well. A lot of bad conditions, high winds up to 40 miles per hour. And as a newer rider, that's really, really scary. You know, I probably had one of my worst experiences riding about a year after I started. And I just started having my wife go in two up with me on the bike. And we were in Las Vegas, Nevada. I had rode out to Laughlin, Nevada. It's about an hour-and-a-half ride. And on the way back, we saw these really dark clouds coming overhead, so we were trying to get back on the road quickly. And unfortunately, we were not able to avoid it and had to go through about 15 minutes of a severe thunderstorm, probably some of the heaviest rain I've ever experienced. And not only is it hard with visibility, but heavy rain when you're going, because I slowed down to about 40 miles per hour on a 75 mile per hour road, it feels like little BBs are pelting you in the entire time. You know, I had my mesh gear because it was actually warm. It was like 90 something degrees, so I didn't have heavy gear on. And yeah, those raindrops, when they're hitting you, they hurt. And add that to the low visibility. It got really cold too, so I was shivering. You know, that was not a good experience. And then after 15 minutes of that, there was about a 2-minute break, and then ran into a 10-minute huge dust storm out in the middle of the desert going back to Las Vegas. And really low visibility. I probably couldn't see more than about 20-30 feet in front of me. The dust was coming up all inside of my helmet. It's hard to breathe. You know, it's just not a good situation, especially as a newer rider. If that makes you feel really, really uncomfortable, especially when you're only used to riding in very good weather on nice clear days, that unexpected weather can be a huge surprise for you and cause a lot of fear that you're going to have to get over very quickly to be able to ride safely through those types of inclement weather. Now, I would also suggest not trying to progress yourself too quickly. A lot of people want to push themselves. They want to go on rides with friends. They want to go on group rides. You have to go at your own pace. You're the only one that's going to be able to determine how fast you improve and how comfortable you feel being on your bike, going at certain speeds, going around certain different curves and different terrain, especially if you're going off-roading. If you're going with really experienced off-roaders and this is your first time on a off-road bike, you're not going to be going as fast as them. You're not going to be able to go at the same speeds, you know, on the same type of technical terrain as somebody that's more experienced than you. So progress at your own pace. You will get better over time. With practice, with time and experience, you're going to get better, and it's going to feel more comfortable, and you're going to have a lot of fun motorcycling. But don't push yourself too fast. Just understand that you are going to get there at a certain point, but you need to go at your own pace. The last thing I would suggest here for newer riders that do have that fear when they're riding on the street is to educate yourself. You know, prepare for some of those potential difficult issues that you might get into. Understand what you should do when you get into wet weather. So if there's rain, you know, slow your bike down. Try not to slam on your brakes. You're going to want to progressively brake. You don't want to lock up your rear tire as well. There's all these things that you can learn about getting in those situations. If you are in very technical terrain and you're trying to do off-roading, learn what you should do with your brakes, when you should learn or when you should use your rear brake compared to your front brake, how fast you should be going, what angles that you should be either sitting or standing up on your bike. So watch a lot of YouTube videos, educate yourself on those mechanics so that you feel more comfortable. If you do get into those situations, you already have that knowledge and you don't have to come up with something on the fly because you weren't prepared for it. So do as much preparation as you can ahead of time, and that will cut down significantly on the amount of fear that you're going to feel as you start riding a motorcycle. So those are the tips that I have for you as a new motorcycle rider. Just know that that fear that you initially fear is eventually going to go away. It is normal for pretty much everyone. It just takes time, practice, and experience, and then you're eventually going to get out onto roads like this and you're going to enjoy your time on a motorcycle. So hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you all in the next one.